Things are gonna get crazy!
Most everyone's mad here.
Oh yes! We are beginning this once again. And all I need to do is just fix a little few things right here. Okay, now we can go and get this one started. Yes, folks, welcome to another fun-filled and exciting episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. And this time around, we actually got some pretty interesting stories that we're gonna go and talk about. But most importantly, probably the biggest highlight about this week is that we actually got a lot more significant trailers, more so than usual, and we are going to be talking about each of them right over here. So I can't wait to go and get into that part. But still though, we still got some interesting news to go and discuss, and I'm sure you guys would like to hear about, and most importantly, or maybe also you want to hear my thoughts regarding what's going to be happening. So with all that said and done, I would like to ask the chat wall, guys, are you all ready for this episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast? Come on, guys, let me hear it. Are you all ready? Yes. Oh, wow. We already got people started. We are already prepared. Like, there is no interruption. People are all set. People are all prepared. People are all energized. That's what I like to hear. So why not let's go and get this one started right now. And with our first story, well, I mean, I think it is more important that I hold this with me. Not necessarily because, well, yes, it is my Mickey Mouse cup, but that's actually related to our first story that, yes, even though, like, we are familiar with cups, we are actually gonna get a show about a cup. Now, I know that sounds weird, right? You know, like, what the fridge is so special about a cup, and why does it need its own animated series? Oh, this ain't no ordinary cup. This is a popular cup that really made the waves, not just in the cartoon world, but also in the video game world. So let's go ahead and get this one started with the Cuphead show. Yes, Netflix and Studio MDHR, along with King Features, are all collaborating in order to go and create the Cuphead show, which is based on the 2017 hit indie game Cuphead. And in here, it is stated that one important thing that they are going to be connecting this to the original video games is that it will maintain the classic 1930s Fleischer cartoon influence style. So, of course, this is all going to be a massive homage to those classic cartoons. And if I may go into my source on Deadline, it has stated here about the story itself that the character-driven story series follows the unique misadventures of the impulsive Cuphead and his cautious but easily swayed brother Mugman. Through their many misadventures across their surreal home of the Inkwell Isles, they've always got each other's back. And on top of that, not only is the animation going to stay true to the original games, but it has also stated that they are really going to go and expand upon the world of Cuphead, and also, well, Inkwell Isle, I should say more properly, and also expand upon the characters that inhabit there. So not only are we going to learn a lot more regarding Cuphead and Mugman, but also whatever favorite boss that you have, rather it be the devil or a Calamaria or the freaky cuckoo bird or what have you, no matter which character you adore, they will appear and you will learn a lot more about them. So that's a guarantee for that one. And in terms of the people that are going to be involved on this project, well, of course, this will all be created in Netflix animation, and it is stated again in Deadline that it's going to be produced by Dave Wasson of the Mickey Mouse shorts. But on top of that, there is also C.J. Kettler, who is also who's going to be executive producing this of King Features. And then we also have the Cuphead creators themselves, Chad and Jared Moldenhauer, who are going to be executive producers as part of Studio MDHR. So that's the big thing to go and emphasize. Oh, and well, technically it also stated that they got a co-executive producer with Cosmo Segerson. So those are all the people that are going to be involved, and for those of you who are not necessarily that familiar with Cuphead, well, I mostly described what it is. Basically, it is a video game. It's more of a shooting platformer where you mostly go and fight bosses, but the big selling point is that it is all themed to the classic cartoons of the 1930s and the 1940s. So it pays massive homage to the Fleischer Brothers, to Disney, to Warner Brothers, to Universal. Like, whoever was making cartoons back then, Cuphead is pretty much going out of its way to go and pay homage. And on top of that, the graphics that are made with Cuphead is actually all done in the classic style. It's all hand-drawn animated and actually done fully by hand. And like the people at Studio MDHR, they have devoted themselves to stay true to the process of making the classic cartoon. So not only is it hand-drawn, but also they used hand-painted cells in order to craft the characters, in order to craft the worlds, in order to craft the animations. They stayed devoted to make sure it stays true to the feel and the look of the classic cartoons as possible. And now it seems that they're going to be taking all this and putting that onto a TV show for Netflix. So that apparently seems to be the big selling point right over here. And honestly, when I do look at this, I feel like we are at the point where there is honestly no better time for a Cuphead series than right now, because now it seems like all the stars are pretty much aligned to make this actually happen. And I'm gonna be honest, the fact that it is from Netflix, it makes it even better, because on the Netflix side of things, they really do seem to know well, so far at least, in terms of taking a popular video game franchise and turning that into an animated series for their platform. A great example of what I'm talking about is the Castlevania series. Apparently that one is highly praised, and it's still going on at Netflix, and it really shows that they are devoted to not only creating a great show in itself, but also to stay true on the video games that they are based on. So if they can give the detail and the attention with Castlevania, then I'm sure they're going to go and do the same thing with Cuphead, where they're really going to go and try to stay true to the feel of classic cartoons, and especially with the stories right now. Because on one hand, you could look at the plot of what the whole series is about, and yeah, it says is that this is going to be more of a comedy series. It's going to be more about the characters, and yeah, like, in a way, some people could criticize it that it is a little bit cliched, that they got the impulsive main character who's like a real go-getter and wants to take on the action, and then you got his buddy who's very cautious, but like he'll just follow his friend wherever he goes, no matter what. It's like he might be a little more careful, but he doesn't listen to himself. He'll just go and do whatever Cuphead says. I know it's like, it's been done so many times for so long, but then again, there is a part of it that can actually work in this regard. There is a part of it that they can actually use that to their advantage in order to actually capture the feel of Cuphead, to make sure that it stays true to the classic cartoons. Because yeah, it is an old cliche, but then again, you do see that plot happen in old cartoons as well. Like, maybe this is something that you would see in stuff like the classic MGM cartoons, or in classic Mickey Mouse cartoons. Like, you would see that happen during that time. So staying true to that can actually work out. You know, it's not about like the concepts that they bring out. It's mostly regarding the execution of it, and that's what I'm hoping for with this series, that they're able to go and capture the execution. And that's why I really do trust Netflix, because if things can really work out with something like Castlevania to turn that into an animated series and really make it successful in its platform, then I do hope they'll do the same thing onto Cuphead. And speaking of which, another thing that really does work regarding Cuphead and how it feels like a great time to go and do that, it really is because retro classic cartoon animation is really starting to make a comeback. Like, the real good old days of cartoons now is starting to return onto the mainstream. It's starting to become trending and really popular again. And case in point, you look at some of the recent TV shows and that they do try to recapture that classic feel. Like, you got the Mickey Mouse shorts, but especially what's going to be coming up with the Looney Tunes cartoons, which that one is going to be completely rebooting the whole Looney Tunes franchise and bring them back to its roots with Tex Avery and Bob Clampett and all those guys back in the early 40s. So, of course, with Cuphead, and also other games as well, like you got Cuphead and Bendy and the Ink Machine, that was also another major factor in bringing back classic cartoons in order to have that style feel fresh, to feel new, to feel fun again. And not to mention, I think it's also important to note that the memes as well, they also play a big factor in making old cartoons really popular again. To take random moments in old Looney Tunes cartoons or in old Disney cartoons and just completely make a meme out of it and just have people, enjoy it, have a good time, just have fun with those cartoons. Case in point, look at Big Chungus. Like, even though a lot of people could say that technically Big Chungus, the whole meme, is pretty much dead now, but look at the influence that Big Chungus has. Look at how Big Chungus really sparked back the popularity of those old cartoons. And, like, this is one of, like, the first Elmer Fudd Bugs Bunny cartoons. This was, like, way back when they started to experiment with Elmer Fudd a little bit to make him, like, absolutely huge, to make him, like, completely fat, and then have Bugs Bunny, like, imitate him at one point, and people just thought that was hilarious. Like, how decades later, that old cartoon can still have a grand impact to this day. So that's the big thing, is that we are seeing kind of this comeback of classic cartoons, thanks to the internet, thanks to video games, and thanks to companies that are starting to recognize that and build that up once again. And also, like, probably one of the earlier examples of the recent comeback, I would like to add, technically, there is also the cartoon that appeared before Frozen. You might remember Get a Horse, that little classic Mickey Mouse cartoon in which Mickey and the gang, like, they kind of swap around from 3D and then 2D and all that kind of stuff. That is another prominent example of bringing back old retro animation. So we are seeing that comeback. So of course that did play a big part in Cuphead's popularity. So why not also have an entire animated series completely dedicated to that with Cuphead? I think honestly it really does work. So overall, as I've stated many times before, there's no better time to have a Cuphead series. I feel like, honestly, with Netflix doing well with taking video game franchises and turning them into animated series with great results, and also the comeback of classic cartoons that the retro style is becoming new and fresh and popular again, I think this can really work out well. And I really do wish the best of luck for the people at Netflix to create something amazing with this. Now, in terms of when this is going to be coming out, that still remains to be seen. There is no official confirmation regarding the release date as of yet. They only announced the series so far, so I don't know. I'm expecting maybe like in a few years, so maybe a little later on in the 2020 decade. Maybe not next year, but maybe sometime like around in 2021 or in 2022. We'll just have to wait and see with what they're going to do with it. But yeah, honestly, the idea of a Cuphead series actually does sound pretty epic, and hopefully it will be as phenomenal and enjoyable as, it'll be as enjoyable as the video game itself. minus actually playing it though, because that's the funny thing to note about the whole Cuphead series. Like that's a funny thing to talk about regarding Cuphead. It's that with the game, it's one of the greatest video games to look at. To play it, however, with its notorious difficulty, that's a completely other story. Okay, so with that said though, I think now it is time to go into the chat wall, and I'm gonna ask, what do you guys think about a Cuphead series? Is it something that you guys would want to watch? Are you guys a bit doubtful of Netflix doing that? Let me know what you all think about Cuphead. Oh boy, we got a lot of people coming in. Okay. Oh boy, a lot of people really do have a lot to say regarding Cuphead, so let's see now. It says here, I may not have played Cuphead, but the idea of an animated series sounds really intriguing, especially with the way the 1930s aesthetic is going to be brought to life. I'll be checking it out when it hits, but one question. Will this have an end dance as influential as Mario? Oh god, no. No, I don't, like, they don't do that back in those days. Like, that is something for the 80s and 90s. They don't do that in the 30s or 40s. Like, you're not gonna see the show do, like, da-da-da-da-da-da, do the Cuphead, swing your arms from side to side, come on, it's time to go, do the Cuphead. That ain't gonna freaking happen, dude. Oh boy. Oh god. Can we just bring in can we bring back to life Lou Ferrigno? Is it Lou Ferrigno that played Mario? Like, can we bring that guy back to life so that he could actually do that? And then also have a message. It's like, if you do drugs, you're gonna go to hell. Oh god. Don't deal with it. Yeah, don't dance with the devil and don't do drugs or else you will deal with the devil. Okay, let's see now. Man, I am really excited for this show. The game of Cuphead, even though it is hard as hell, was fun, and how the style was wonderful with nods to not just old cartoons, but also old platformer short games like Super Mario, Mega Man, and Contra, plus others. However, if I have one question for the studio, would they, since they have the talent, would they have the talent to make animated films? Well, I mean, Netflix is trying to do that right now. I mean, they really are expanding big with their animation. Like, they're trying to bring in as many prominent people as they can. They already got people like Glenn Keane, Jorge Gutierrez, Alex Hirsch, and many, many more in order to produce not just animated series, but also animated features. Let's see now. While I have never played the game myself, I am certainly excited for this show, though I do wonder which age rating the show will have, since the original game itself would have words like hell and have alcohol, gambling, and smoking in the original game, since it seems okay for classic cartoons of the past to have that, to do stuff like drink alcohol and smoke cigars. I mean, like, it's not like it's gonna get an R rating. It's not gonna be as, like, ultra-violent as something like Castlevania. It will be more family-friendly than the Castlevania series. I can guarantee you that as a fact. But regarding its rating, I mean, I think, like, it will be a bit PG. Like, that's honestly what I'm expecting it's gonna lean towards. Like, technically, there are kids to this day that would still go and watch those classic Looney Tunes cartoons that would feature like drinking, gambling, and smoking and stuff like that. So I don't think it would be that much of a big deal. I would be kind of surprised if they're gonna put in like some kind of PG-13 rating onto Cuphead, but for the most part, I would imagine they're just gonna go PG and that's it. Okay, let's see now. I may not have played the game, but looking at the game and its animation blows me away. A series is a great idea. King's features being involved is also cool, as it makes me wonder if a character like Popeye or Betty Boop will make an appearance in the series. Highly doubt that, mainly because, like, yeah, I mean, King Features technically does own those characters, but I don't know if there would be, like, a full-on cameo of these characters. If anything, I would have a feeling that they're just gonna stay true to just like the video game itself and just stay like in game in terms of like what kind of references that they can pull off. Like, yeah, sure, the Dice Man will make an appearance, but Popeye, I don't know. Like, I can't really see them do like a full-on crossover with classic cartoons. I'm just saying. Okay, let's see. I'll go and read one more quote. I'll read one more comment before moving on to the next story. On one hand, it's nice that we get to see rubber hose animation with the new Cuphead TV show, but on the other hand, a lot of people prefer character-driven cartoons and more dialogue-based humor than slapstick like Steven Universe, Star versus The Forces of Evil, and The Loud House. Before the Cuphead animated series, the closest we got to tributing the 20s and 40s animation today is SpongeBob SquarePants. Last decade, the other closest would be Ed, Edd n Eddy. I mean, you never know. Like, yeah, sure, this one is gonna lean more towards, like, the slapstick, cartoony style animation as its main selling point and as its main driving force. But you never know. Like, people could end up get a lot more interested in Cuphead than if it were something that it is more like down to earth and more dialogue heavy than anything. But then again, technically, it's not like they're not gonna do that as well, because even in my source here, it did state that it is gonna be a character-driven comedy series. So throughout the whole time, we are gonna learn a lot about Cuphead and Mugman. It's not like they're all gonna be one-dimensional characters who's mainly focused on making like all these slapstick humor. Like this, like they're not gonna treat this like this is freaking Hotel Transylvania. They're gonna treat it with a lot more respect than that. So that's honestly what I'm expecting, is that, yeah, it is going to be a lot more different than something like Loud House or Steven Universe, but that doesn't mean it's not going to be any less appealing than those shows. So honestly, for that, I feel like we would have to wait and see with how the result is going to be and if the execution of that will work out. All right, so let me go and get my water. Let me get my cup, actually. Very nice. And now it is time that we are going to go and move on to our next story. And in our next story, we're going to go a little bit similar, where we're going to take some recognizable characters and we're going to put them onto television. But this time around, this is not necessarily their first time trying to do that and fail. But with this one, hopefully something can come out of it. So with that regards, let's go and... whoa! Fudge nabbit. Well, that came out of nowhere. But yes, let's go and talk about the Flintstones. Yes, apparently Warner Brothers Animation and Brownstone Productions, which is the production company owned by Elizabeth Banks, are going to be teaming up in order to create an adult animated series of the Flintstones, or more specifically, an adult animated primetime reboot of the Flintstones. Now, interestingly enough, in my source here on Entertainment Weekly, it did describe about many of the previous attempts, successful or failed, about rebooting the Flintstone onto a new generation. Because as you guys know, the Flintstones, it was a very milestone series, no pun intended, that came from the 60s. Like, basically the best way to describe the Flintstones is that before The Simpsons, it was the Flintstones. And in here, by the way, on a side note, I just want to say that other than the announcement itself, there's nothing else that's been revealed. So far, all we know is that Warner Brothers and Brownstone are just currently in talks to bring back the Flintstones in an adult primetime reboot. But going back to Entertainment Weekly, it has stated that decades after the original run, The Flintstones was adapted for a live-action 1994 film starring John Goodman, Rick Moranis, Elizabeth Perkins, and Rosie O'Donnell, among others. A prequel with a different cast followed in 2000. And yeah, as you can tell, it's not a good film. Viva Rock Vegas did not have a great reputation. I'll just lay it out there. Anyways, Seth MacFarlane was working on a possible TV reboot of the Flintstones in 2012, presumably one with a similar tone to his shows like Family Guy, but that project never materialized. More recently, DC Comics has rebooted the Flintstones as a comic series written by Mark Russell and illustrated by artist Steve Pugh. I think that's how you say that. Steve Pugh, or I don't know. Anyways, just as the original series transplanted mid-century American social dynamics onto prehistoric characters, the new comic featured allegories about populist politicians and queer sexuality, among other relevant contemporary topics. So you might remember, like, you probably seen this on the internet, where you would have, like, these out-of-context panels from the Flintstone comics. Like, you would have Barney walking around going, "Hey, Fred, are you ready to go bowling?"
Not now, Barney. I'm contemplating about genocide. Do you realize what we have done and killed millions of people with our jobs?
I mean, like, yeah, it is weird, and, like, sometimes it can take itself a little too seriously, where, like, after reading some really deep and weird crap, like, all in your mind, you're just thinking about, like, Flintstones, meet the Flintstones, they're a modern Sunday family. But in all seriousness, though, I actually did hear that the comic series is actually pretty good. Like, they're no longer continuing it, but the Flintstones one, I heard, is actually pretty strong and very well received. And even in terms of going into serious topics like LGBT problems and also populist politicians, they actually handled that very well. So, going back into this idea that we have right now, that Warner Brothers is trying out a reboot of the Flintstones. Honestly, at that point, I look at this and I feel like, yeah, you know what, I'm gonna wait and see what's gonna happen, because honestly, there have been a few times in the past that we've heard so much about, oh, the Flintstones are going to be coming back, the Flintstones are going to be coming back, but nothing ever happened to it. Like, probably the most famous example is what's been noted here is how Seth MacFarlane wanted to try to reboot the Flintstones in his own way to create an adult primetime animated series, but again, nothing really happened to it. I think it's not the only time that it ever did happen, because I remember, like, you guys probably, if you're watching this, you probably know this as well, that Pan Pizza, aka Rebel Taxi, he already did a video regarding, like, the failed attempts of rebooting the Flintstones, or even, like, I think he might have even done more than one video about it, but either way, like, right now, it is a very well-known thing that Warner Brothers tried and tried again, trying to bring back the Flintstones, and nothing really came out of it. And so far, we are still in very early talks, because the only thing we do know is that so far, we got two companies, Warner Brothers and Brownstone Productions. They're just talking about maybe bringing this back. You never know if in the future this could, like, fall apart and nothing would actually come out of it. But in this regard, I will say, though, like, that's on one hand, like, with my more realistic, doubtful side, but then there's also another side of me that do feel like, considering this day and age, I feel like now this idea of an adult primetime reboot series of the Flintstones, it is gonna happen no matter what. Like, now there is a much stronger chance than ever for that to happen, mainly because it could happen in one of two ways. You gotta think about it. Like, if this goes well, that if the production of this show is actually going smoothly, that the series is going well, like, you know, Warner Brothers is happy with it, Brownstone Productions is happy with it, then that means they could go and actually put it in prime time. They can actually be ready to put it on television and, like, heavily market the grand return of the Flintstones. But if that doesn't go well, worst case scenario that I could imagine is that if it's not really towards their liking, if they don't feel like it's that great for prime time, then what they can do is that they'll just go and take this and they'll put it on their streaming service. You might remember last week, I actually talked about the fact that Warner Brothers wants to do their own streaming service, and they want to put in shows like Gremlins, Secrets of the Mogwai. So worst case scenario, if it's not good enough for prime time, then maybe they'll put the Flintstones onto their streaming service, because like really their streaming service, it's more of their dumping ground of like all these different experimental projects that worst case scenario, if it doesn't work, then we'll see what happens if we put it on the streamer, and see what happens if people are really that interested. So there is a much stronger chance, more so than there is in the past, to bring back the Flintstones. So with that said though, for me honestly, as someone who did watch the Flintstones in the past, and on top of that, someone who was a huge Hanna-Barbera fan during my childhood, I remember like I would love to go and put on Boomerang and just check out all the classic Hanna-Barbera shows, and honestly hyping myself out watching shows like Wacky Races, or especially like the Laugh Olympics. Like, I love those series so much. Like, as someone like that, honestly, seeing, like, I've always wanted to see the comeback of the Flintstones. I would love to see the Flintstones return in the contemporary age, you know, get back, you know, be back in their dominant platform, to go back on television and rule TV like they did back in the 60s. Because as I've already stated, the Flintstones used to be the Simpsons back in their day. They really were the legitimate primetime animated series that it wasn't just kids, but more so with adults. They really enjoyed the crazy antics of Fred and Barney, Wilma and Betty. Like, really go and relate to those characters. And for me, I really would love to see that, considering that Flintstones really was a massive stepping stone, again, no pun intended, for animation television, that it really did change and really shape up the foundation of how future animated television shows would be, whether it be aimed more for kids or even aimed more for adults. The Flintstones really did change things up for television, and that's what I would love to see, if they could try to do that again in this day and age of television. And especially, even TV shows are seeing more reboots again and again, so why not have the Flintstones as well? So honestly, for me, I really do hope that they do bring back the Flintstones. I do hope that in the future that we will see a reboot of the Flintstones, that we would see the comeback of these classic characters, because they really do deserve it, you know? They really do deserve a highly prominent place in the history of animation, and adding more into it, I don't really see much of the harm. And worst case scenario, like I said, just chuck it onto the streaming service. But if it's good, if it's confident enough to really hit big in prime time, then honestly, that's going to be something I would anticipate to watch. I would be interested to see if the Flintstones can really hit big as much as they did back in the 60s. Okay, so with that said, I want to go into the chat wall, and I would like to ask what you guys think about a reboot of the Flintstones. Is it something that you guys would be interested in checking out? Do you have confidence with Warner Brothers and Elizabeth Banks to properly bring back the Flintstones? Are you guys not as interested? Are you doubtful about it? Let me know what you guys think. Okay, let's see here. An adult show of the Flintstones feels underwhelming to me. I'm not going to jump to conclusions and say that this will be a bad idea, but the fact that, but the fact that there are rumors back then saying that the Flintstones will come back reminds me of the dumb scam of the Legends of Oz Dorothy's Return. You know, because those idiots said that the movie will be like a whole franchise, but no sequel came out of it. I just hope this isn't a scam either. I'm watching you, Warner. Well, no. This is most certainly not a scam. This is not like Warner Brothers is going to go and ask a whole bunch of people to go and invest their money onto a Flintstones reboot and then suddenly nothing is going to happen. That's not the case. Warner Brothers most certainly has the money to go and reboot the Flintstones. They're not going to ask anyone, so it's not going to be a scam like that. So, but yeah, and I understand how some people might feel a bit doubtful because they say that this is going to be an adult reboot, and nowadays, the meaning of what an adult series could be, like, it can mean a lot of things, and some people might think immediately towards more the immature route, like what Robot Chicken or Family Guy has pretty much become, where they just fill themselves with a massive amount of violence, or they would refer a lot about sex, that some people might be worried that Wilma or Betty will be viewed more as sex objects more so than actual characters. But on the other hand, like, being more adult doesn't necessarily just mean that, oh, they're gonna swear a lot, oh, they're gonna reference sex a lot, oh, they're gonna go and be a lot more violent, that there's gonna be a lot more blood coming out of the guts of Fred and Barney and stuff like that. That's not necessarily the case. Being adult can mean talking about more serious issues, and even the comic that it brought up here in Entertainment Weekly, like, that's more for adults because it does deal with things that kids wouldn't necessarily understand. Subject matters like populism or genocide or LGBT issues. They would go into these more adult and more contemporary social issues and try to deal with them in their own unique way. So that could be another meaning of what an adult series can be. Okay, so with that said, let's go into another one right now. My thoughts are meh. I wasn't really into the Flintstones, but the revival could be a hit or miss. The last reboot of a cartoon that caters towards adults was Ren and Stimpy, and it was horrible. There could be a possibility it might be like that, but there is a possibility it could be good and not cater to that level. I wonder if the show will make fun of the time they used to promote cigarettes. I'll have to wait and see. Oh my god, well, it is an adult series. I'm sure they're gonna go do that. You know, like, honestly, that would be a major kudos. I would love to see the Flintstones try to do, like, a freaking Winston commercial. Like, try to do some kind of Winston parody. It's like,
how did he die, Bond?
oh, too many Winston cigarettes.
Oh, it reminds me, Bond, you want to take some?
Fred, we were literally just talking about that. He died from that.
Oh, yeah, that's true, Bond. That's definitely true.
Yeah, they could definitely do that. Oh, boy. Let's see now. I'm going to have to wait and see on the Flintstones reboot, either if it'll be on HBO Max. Oh, is that what they're going to call it? Ah, okay. On HBO Max or Adult Swim, but looking forward to the show, not afraid of talking about current problems of the world, now that it has adult themes to talk about, like in the reboot comic books. Alright, that's good. Oh boy, I'm surprised to see a lot of mixed reactions. Alright, so let's see now. Don't we already have an upcoming reboot to the Flintstones called Yabba Oh, excuse me. Let's see. Don't we already have an upcoming reboot of the Flintstones called Yabba Dabba Dinosaurs? Except that one focuses on Pebbles and Bam Bam and is more kid-friendly. I also don't know about the reboot of the Flintstones because nowadays, a lot of people are sick and tired of adult animation becoming comedies. In fact, BoJack Horseman and South Park are two of the few good adult comedy cartoons today, but they should try other genres of animation like Genndy Tartakovsky's Primal being more action-based. I don't know. Well, okay, well the thing is that, yeah, maybe they are doing a reboot with Yabba Dabba Dinosaurs, but that, you know, honestly, I wouldn't necessarily call that a full-on Flintstones reboot. That's like talking about the Muppet Babies series right now and consider that, like, as a full-on reboot to the Muppet Show. You know it ain't, and especially the fact that it is geared a lot more towards children than anything, so honestly, this one is more of a completely different thing, but I guess that is more your opinion regarding the factor that maybe we have too many adult animated comedies out there. Like, yeah, there are a whole bunch of them. I'm not going to deny that there's definitely a lot more than those that are taking themselves as seriously, like Genndy Tartakovsky's Primal. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they are bad or that people are just sick and tired of them as general, considering that there's still a lot of them that are still highly beloved to this day. Case in point, I mean, you did bring up stuff like BoJack Horseman, but then there's also Rick and Morty that still has a very huge and prominent fan base and people that are still extremely excited for Season 4, which I think is going to be coming out at the end of the year. So there is that. Let's see. Do we have one more comment right over here? Oh, okay, let's see now. To rephrase what was said about reboots, oh boy, here we go again. I don't know how to feel about an adult reboot after Seth MacFarlane tried to do so. Also, Pan did an update video. If this on the streaming service, then I don't mind. I just feel weird that it would be adult. I'll believe it when I see it. Yeah, I think I think it really is something to believe it to see it, but we'll just have to wait and see. For someone like me, as a Hanna-Barbera fan and someone who used to watch the Flintstones a lot, I do wish this series the best and that it could actually happen for once. Okay, folks, I guess that's pretty much it with all the animation stories. Yes, we gotta cut it out short because now we gotta check out the trailers, and I got a whole bunch of them. And for the first story that I have over here, for the first trailer that we're gonna go and check out, funny enough, the first time I was introduced to this trailer, it was actually on Twitter, where there was someone that was messaging me like, "Hey, Animat, can you go and talk about this in the cartoon cast? Can you talk about this in Animat's crazy cartoon cast?" And I was like, okay, I'll just be curious. I'll see what this is. I didn't know what was going on. And then I looked at the trailer, and I was like, holy crap! Like, no joke, I was pretty much blown away with what I just saw. So with the first trailer that we're gonna go see, let us go ahead and check out Lupin III the First. Yes, folks, that was Lupin III the First. And I'm going to read you a little bit of some of the things that have been said here in my source here through Anime News Network, that it was TOHO that revealed this trailer, and that this is going to be directed by Takashi Yamazaki, the person behind Stand By Me Doraemon and also Dragon Quest Your Story. Now, Takashi Yamazaki, he's going to be the one that will be directing and writing this feature. And by the way, I think the most important thing to note is that this is actually going to be the first time that Lupin III will be in a computer animated feature. So that's kind of like the big selling point. And there is nowhere here that describes what this movie will be about specifically. I don't know if they even served like closed captions during this whole thing. Let's see now. Did they actually? Japanese auto-translate? Okay, well, auto-translate, I don't think that's gonna help us at all in this case. But going back into this, they have also mentioned regarding the factor of the creator of Lupin III, Monkey Punch, and unfortunately that earlier this year he did pass away, as it states that Lupin III creator Monkey Punch recently passed away on April 11th, but the film's website posted on October 2018 message in which he had expressed his excitement over imagining how this fresh take on his character would turn out. The tagline on the website reads, well, let's get started. And I just gotta say right now, even though I don't know what the plot of this is gonna be, even though I don't know what the story specifically is gonna be on Lupin III the First, but I gotta say, holy crap. Like, holy crap. This animation is amazing. Like, I understand that for me, it's, I would say it's mainly because that I am a lot more focused towards Western animation, and often I would forget about the computer animation quality of Japanese animation, because usually when you think about anime, you would immediately think about the hand-drawn animation works that even to this day, oh boy, the gas needs to come out first. But anyways, as I was saying, in this case, like when you would think about anime and you would think about Japanese animation, you would mainly think about their hand-drawn animated works. And even to this day, they're a lot more prominent towards hand-drawn more so than they are computer. But they do computer animated works, and sometimes the stuff that they would deliver is often amazing and highly detailed. Case in point, even though this is not necessarily animation based, this is like it still counts as computer animation, but you take a look at many of the cutscenes from some of the recent Square Enix games, rather it be stuff from Final Fantasy or even with Kingdom Hearts. The detail on many of these cutscenes and the smoothness of the animation, it is incredible. And the same case goes to right over here, that honestly, I would say that this animation is way better than most of the animation that I've seen in recent years because of two factors. Like, not only is this highly smooth, not only is this highly action-packed, and not only is this highly detailed, but I really am impressed with how this animation took the classic designs of Monkey Punch and really translate that well onto computer animation, that these characters, they still look exactly like how they would in the comics or how they would in the anime, and they still stay true to their style. They still stay true with how they look, with how they move, and even the action that is delivered. Like, that's the big thing that they are delivering in this, that we see all this crazy action-packed adventure that Lupin and his friends would get themselves into. Like, even when you would see, like, rather it be, Jigen just shooting everywhere, or, like, with Goemon using his samurai skills, or even with Fujiko, when she would get herself out of trouble, or, like, just fooling men with her looks and her sexiness and stuff like that, or even just, like, with the crazy antics of Zenigata, like, everything about it, it still completely says Lupin III. You still recognize that it is them, but at the same time, it's a new, fresh take. This is a new, detailed look. Like, now you see, like, the individual hairs on their eyebrows, or on their on their head, or, like, you would see the details on their clothes. It really does work out well. It looks absolutely phenomenal. And honestly, I really am impressed with the way that they actually knew how to translate the designs of Monkey Punch and put that into a computer animated environment. Because let's be honest, sometimes that doesn't fully work out as well as you would expect. Like, a great example is that they tried to do the same thing with the remake of Pokemon the first movie. You probably know that Pokemon is going to be making a full-on computer animated remake of Mewtwo Strikes Back, or the first Pokemon movie. And in terms of the looks on that, I mean, yeah, the Pokemon look fine, but then you actually got the actual characters themselves, whether it be like Ash, Misty, Brock, Nurse Joy, or all those characters. They I don't know, there's something about them that doesn't seem to translate that well onto computer animation, or at the very least, like, to have the detailed look with the lighting, the textures, and the different hairs on their heads. It just, there's something about it that just feels a bit uncanny. It feels a little bit unnatural to bring those designs onto a computer animated environment. But in this case right over here, this works. This feels fresh. This feels new and also familiar at the same time. And even though we don't really know much about the plot, we know that this is going to be action-packed. We know that we're going to be getting the same kind of fun that we have received in the previous movies, comics, mangas, and TV shows of Lupin III. And honestly, seeing this, I'm honestly pretty excited to see if there would be a possibility that they would bring this to North America, or even if they're going to have, like, an English dub. Like, if they're able to go and get an English dub that could be as strong as the one from Castle of Cagliostro, then I would be completely sold onto this, because a good English dub cast can really sell well for North American fans, because this honestly just looks beautiful overall. That, like, honestly, on the animation alone, I feel absolutely sold onto this. And in terms of the release date, it looks like so far, the Japanese, of course, they're going to be getting it first, which will be coming out there on December 6th. We don't have an official release date regarding when it's going to be coming out in North America, but honestly, I really do hope they do so, because something as awesome as this, I just cannot wait. I just feel pretty excited to see what's going to be coming out of this, if it ever does come. Oh my god, it just, honestly, major kudos, at least to the trailer. That is super epic right over there. That's just really sweet, and that, like I said, the animation is just beautiful. Okay, so with that said, I want to go into the chat wall, and I want to ask what you guys think about this trailer for Lupin III the First. Is it something that you guys would be interested in checking out? Would you guys consider having this as your first experience as Lupin III? Are you guys a bit doubtful? Do you not want to watch it? Are you not as interested? Let me know what you guys think. Okay, let's see now. Let's see. That looks damn good. It's wonderful that it's coming out too, and I hope that there is an English dub. Okay? Let's see. Holy shiitake! The CGI looks pretty decent, and I might just have to check this out. Though I'm most familiar with Lupin III from the Miyazaki movie, so it will be interesting to see this take from a different angle. I wonder if they will keep it loyal to the original anime manga material or update to the current times. Well, we'll have to wait and see on that. That is a pretty good question, but so far I know that for Monkey Punch he is pretty excited about this. Well, he was excited, so let's see. Oh my gosh, I am hyped for this. Lupin is my big childhood cartoon crush. The translation to 3D is amazing and awesome. It reminds me of the Peanuts movie by turning the Charles Schultz look into computer animation. Also, it does work. It does suck that Monkey Punch passed away before this trailer came out, but I know that the directors and producers will do fine. Hashtag long live Monkey Punch. Alright, so far, like, even with Lupin the Third fans, so far, it's really selling well on that. Let's see now. I see this trailer while I I seen this trailer while I tweeted this and posted on traditional animation Discord server. Because of that, Lupin the Third will still go on as usual. Also, what will be the first 3D CG movie since Dragon Quest Your Story? Or it was Manza Animation Planet did this. Oh boy, I have no clue, honestly. I'll have to check on that later. Let's see. This looks awesome. It reminds me of Tintin and Spider-Verse. I'm surprised Lupin succeeded in CGI. I think I'll watch it since I still need to watch the Castle movie. Hopefully it pays homage to Monkey Ball or Monkey Punch. Not Monkey Ball. Like, this ain't gonna be dedicated to Super Monkey Ball. This is gonna be for Monkey Punch. No, but in all seriousness, like, that is actually a pretty good comparison. Like, if you think back of the 2011 movie, The Adventures of Tintin, which, by the way, I absolutely adore, because there have been rumors that circulated that some inspiration from that movie actually came from Lupin the Third, and you do actually see that a little bit, considering that that Lupin would travel to so many different places. There's like a plane battle going on, the high amount of crazy action and the creative aspect of the action as well. That is actually going to be something that, if you're a fan of that Tintin movie, then I'm sure you'll probably enjoy something like this as well, since they do share a very similar feeling, and that might not be by accident. Alright, let me see now. I'm mostly used to seeing hand-drawn anime coming out of their video games. Sometimes I see some CGI anime movies or show made like a video game animation at best, or can run to Uncanny Valley at worst. But here, the CGI animation on Lupin the Third looks great and awesome. I'll probably check it out. Alright, sounds good. Let's see. I really wish it wouldn't thunderstorm hard because I'm trying to watch. Oh, okay. I'm sorry you have to go and deal with that. Okay, let's see. I'll just read one more. I have not read the Lupin the Third manga, nor did I see. Did I read this? Okay, no. I didn't read this. Let's see now. I have not read the Lupin the Third manga, nor I have seen Castle of Cagliostro, but man, does this trailer look really good. At least it looks better than the 2014 live-action adaptation. the live action adaptation of Lupin. My only worry is if this movie will top the box office over the Hayao Miyazaki film. His latest film works, How Do You Live, hasn't got a release date yet. Well, I mean, you don't have to worry about that, because the thing is, this movie will be coming out on December 2016. The next Hayao Miyazaki movie, from what I've heard, it's going to be either sometime in 2020 or a little bit later than that. I'm expecting either in 2020 or 2021, but if you're worried about the box office and how it will perform compared to that, like, so far, let's just do one thing at a time. But in that regard, I do hope that this actually does go well. All right, so let me go and get my little drink. Good. Now it is time that we shall go and jump onto our next trailer. And the next ones that we have here are actually going to be coming from Disney. And first and foremost, we might as well start off with this one, considering that technically it is the next Disney live action remake. I know, like, technically it is a sequel, but it still kind of does count considering its connection to the 1959 classic. Now, we have already talked about it before, and it left us really confused, especially with the way that Disney really want to sexify Maleficent in a way. But now we got a clearer answer about what this movie shall be about. So with that said and done, let's go and jump onto the next trailer and go and check out Maleficent, Mistress of Evil. So let's see what Disney's answer to Bowsette is up to this time.
Now it's time to care for your own.
Okay. You know, while I was watching this, here, let me just place it back onto the title. Yeah, there we go. Maleficent, Mistress of Evil. Ooh, yeah. Okay. You know, when I was watching this trailer, I noticed that there was something a little bit peculiar about it. So it is good that now we do have an idea of what this movie will actually be about. Like, why is there even this conflict between Angelina Jolie and Michelle Pfeiffer? Now we actually do know. And holy crap, when I was seeing this, I was just watching and I was like, wait a minute. Wait just a minute. Because I look at this and I realize, this is Ralph Breaks the Internet. Literally what we just witnessed. And the more I think about it, the more I realize this is more and more and more and more a lot like Ralph Breaks the Internet. I know it sounds weird, but hear me out on this. Okay, so what we got here is a Disney sequel, right? And the main character is technically a bad guy protagonist. Like, we know this character is technically like a villain or a bad guy, but technically in the narrative of the movies, they're supposed to be like they are like the protagonists of their story. Like, they're the ones that we should be rooting for in this case. But with the protagonist, we also got this girl that's not necessarily like their lover or something, but they do have like a very special bond that they connect to, rather it be like Vanellope or Elle Fanning in this case. But the conflict here, and that's the real catch, the conflict and what could be considered the true villain of those movies, rather it be Ralph Breaks the Internet or Maleficent, Mistress of Evil, is the overprotection of the protagonist. That the main character is a little too clingy to the girl and has to learn to ultimately let go. Has to go and, like, you know, to put their needs before to put the girl's need more so than their own, because that's their biggest obstacle, because like they don't want to let go of their girl because, you know, they're being overprotective and they're mostly thinking more about themselves than they are like thinking about what's best for her. And what's best for her is to let go of the main character. And if that's not enough in terms of the connections, both these films, Maleficent, Mistress of Evil, and Ralph Breaks the Internet, they both have Aurora. Yeah, some people are saying, you mean their insecurities. Yeah, in a way you could say that. Yeah, sure. But yeah, both of these movies have Aurora! And yet, oddly enough, it's the cartoon that actually has the Aurora that's a lot more human, that's a lot more genuine, that's a lot more lifelike than the one in the freaking live-action remake. Holy crap, it's so weird that, it's so weird how we see these massive comparisons. And yet, the funny thing is with Ralph Breaks the Internet, so far in terms of audience's reaction, and it's still going on to this day, that people have a lot of very mixed feelings regarding Ralph Breaks the Internet. What makes them think that having Maleficent do the exact same thing is going to be any better? And let me just go into step by step about some of the stuff that we have seen in this trailer, because oh boy. First of all, let me just say, oh, sweet merciful Neptune, no. These fairies are back! No! No, God, no! They're probably the worst thing about the first movie. The fact that, they turned the 3 good fairies from the Sleeping Beauty movie, and you turned that into the frickin' Three Stooges. Oh, God, granted, they only had one very small appearance in this trailer, but still, the notion of them returning is kind of a nightmare scenario for me. It's like, oh no, not again, not again, not again, not more stupidity. Oh God. And also, then you got the factor of, the little scene afterwards where you got Elle Fanning and Angelina Jolie arguing about, I'm getting married. No, you ain't. I wasn't asking either, girl. You got that little scene. And I'm gonna be very honest with you guys. For me in this scenario, I feel like I side with Maleficent on this case. Because honestly, I don't think Aurora is ready to be married with whatever. Is he called Philip or whatever? But where is that guy? Yeah, be married with this weirdo right over here. She's not ready for that. They're not ready for marriage. And let me tell you why. Love is a very powerful emotion. Now, there are many ways to describe love, but I think we can all agree that calling love a powerful emotion is a very good way of describing it. Neither Elle Fanning nor this guy right over here have any emotion, period. And I don't mean have any emotion for each other. I mean just literally never express any form of emotion in either the first movie or so far what we are seeing in this trailer. We don't see any love. We don't see any freaking emotion. Even the guy, trying to propose to her, he sounds so freaking lifeless.
There is no curse that could ever tear me away from you. Will you marry me?
Really? It's you even see it in the dude's face. Back it up. Can we just see it? Look at this face. This guy's face. It's so blank. This is not love. This is emptiness. Yeah, and some people are saying it's he's so monotone. The guy is just there I thought I lost you. Will you marry me? He looks so dead. What the fridge? It's are you sure this is love? Are you sure this is anything that you're feeling right now? And then you got the little argument on the side, which she doesn't even bring out any emotion. No, this is my love. I love him. I'm getting married with him. I don't care what you say. I'm not asking. No, she goes monotone on Maleficent.
Philip asked me to marry him.
No.
I wasn't really asking.
Nor was I.
Yeah, exactly. I wasn't really asking, nor was I. Yeah, really. It's just, honestly, the most that we got is just Angelina Jolie's sass. That's the most emotion that I really got out of this. Maybe a little bit from Michelle Pfeiffer, but you gotta keep in mind, Angelina Jolie and Michelle Pfeiffer, they are professional actresses. That's the major difference. So yeah, honestly, no, I do not approve of Aurora and the guy getting married because love requires emotion. You guys lack emotion in general. So no. So, and honestly, the craziest thing coming out of this trailer, the most insane element, it's not regarding the whole marriage case. It's not the fact that this whole freaking trailer is showing us that this movie will be an absolute ripoff of Ralph Breaks the Internet. It's the fact that right at the end. Right at the end, they decided, oh, by the way, this is gonna happen. They just throw this on the side. They gotta show this? You gotta, it's like, oh, like, yeah, we're doing Ralph Breaks the Internet. Oh, by the way, we also gotta bring up, this factor, that we're gonna bring up that, we're bringing in Maleficent's whole race. Like, Maleficent reuniting with her family, with her own kind of dark fairies with horns and like, crow wings and stuff like that. Like, you gotta bring this up now. Like, we went through, like, 2 whole minutes of garbage, and then you bring this up. You gotta bring up this element right over here. I'm not gonna lie. This is pretty cool. This, I want to see more of. This is what in fact, this is what I would have wanted to see in the original Maleficent. Like, if you are legit gonna do an origin story of Maleficent, why not show this part? Why not show, like, how she abandoned her own kind to become the Mistress of Evil? Why not give us more of this? But no, like, even in this trailer, it's a godforsaken throwaway, because apparently the whole Ralph Breaks the Internet aspect has to be a lot more important than this. And, you know, the saddest thing is that, like, if this trailer is correct, sadly, this is only going to be appearing in one scene and that's it. This is just a little throwaway, unfortunately. And I feel like this is I feel so frustrated about this, because this is such a missed opportunity. Like, you could have done so many great things with it. You could have done so many great things with it in the first movie, but no, you decided to let this go, and you'd rather focus on the whole freaking Battle of the Mothers. You know, like, you gotta have, like, a whole freaking mom brawl out of this. That's what they gotta do. This is what they're gonna do. This is honestly what they're doing with freaking Maleficent, Mistress of Evil, and I gotta say, holy crap. This is a joke. All this that I see here is a godforsaken joke. I feel like it has not learned its lesson from last time. The script so far is nothing but a copy of Ralph Breaks the Internet. The acting is just, again, all over the place. Honestly, it's the older people that feel more professional here. And from there, and then they introduce us ideas that would have been great, but they feel like missed opportunities. I will give it credit, there are some great, the visuals look great. Like, if I have to find something positive out of it, it is visually cool. I'm sure we're gonna get some cool looking battles happening, but other than that, I don't know. It's really hard to find any form of optimism, or to even have the mentality, well, maybe I could be wrong, maybe this could turn out good. But honestly, after my experience with the first film, and after seeing this, I just can't help but feel like I have serious doubt over this movie. It's hard to stay positive when I feel like I'm like 95% sure at this point that this is gonna suck, that this is gonna be crap. Maybe it's just me, I don't know. Maybe this will turn out to be good, but so far, this trailer is not selling me on this whatsoever, and it's really turning this franchise into a freaking joke. Like, really, this is becoming more and more of an insult to not just the 1959 film, but to the original story. I mean, this whole thing, like, seriously, out of all the live-action remakes, this one feels like the most that this is gonna be a mistake. So with that said, I want to go, maybe it's just me, so that's why I want to go into the chat wall, and I want to know what you guys think about this trailer. Like, do you guys like this? Did you guys enjoy this? Like, is this something you want to go and check out? Like, do you disagree with what I say, or do you also think that this is a piece of crap as well? Let me know what you guys think. Oh, good God. Oh, man. Honestly, like, after watching this, like, I don't care what the reviews say. I'm definitely a lot more optimistic to go see The Lion King. The Lion King remake. Okay, let's see now. The original film was dissatisfying and disappointing. This feels less like Ralph Breaks the Internet and more like the overprotective parent protecting who doesn't want to let their child go, like in Finding Nemo. But unlike that film, the film is not going to be good. The plot seems uninteresting, and the acting is as stiff as a brick. Switching its release date closer to Halloween was a good idea too. People love Maleficent's outfit, and the trailer plays with the witch aspect. Yeah, you're definitely right on that. I mean, like, this is really like, considering that, like, this is all evil, and Maleficent is viewed as, like, you know, kind of a witch. Like, technically she's a fairy, but, like, technically, like, it's selling on the evil aspect. I mean, that's what Disney does in general. Usually when it comes to Halloween, they would usually emphasize more on the villains aspect or the Haunted Mansion aspect. Or then again, if you're like me, both these things, like villains, mansion, they're kind of the same thing. The ghosts are evil anyways. No, but going into this, it's just, yeah, this is purely for marketing purposes. The fact that it's going to be out in October. And yeah, it could get its money back, but I don't know. Let's see. Maleficent has become Discord from My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. She started out evil, caused chaos. Later, she got reformed. Later became evil again. Causes more chaos, and I bet she's gonna go good once again in this movie. Also, why is Bertram Thwaites replaced with Harris Dickinson as Philip? That doesn't explain why Philip is less emotional than he was in the 1959 film and even the 2014 film. Okay, to be fair, you know, if I could go a little bit on the defense of Philip in the 1959 film, like, say what you will, yeah, as a character in general, he's not that, you know, like, as a character in general, he is a little bit flat. There isn't much that came out of him. But then again, he did show a lot more personality, and he did show a lot more character than, like, the prince from, like, Cinderella or Snow White. In the early days of Disney, like, that's, like, massive progressiveness in terms of Disney princes. So at least there, you know, he does have a personality, and I can argue right now that the 1959 Philip has shown a lot more personality than any of these movies have done. More so than in this trailer, and more so than in the godforsaken 2014 film. I can guarantee you that. Okay, let's see. I'm getting the weirdest mixed vibes about this sequel. If I do bother to see it, it's going to be during a $5 showing or just for the CGI effects. I can't fathom taking a real interest in the plot or the characters. Yeah, I get how you feel. I have no interest in this movie. Fun fact, I saw the first trailer before Midsummer, which is really weird since I never expected a Disney movie before an Ari Aster movie. Well, you never know. I mean, like, that's more the decision of the cinema that you watch, more so than the actual company itself. So, I wouldn't say that's because that's Disney who decided, hey, Midsommar, let's put Maleficent onto that. I'm sure the reason why they did release the trailer, it's mainly to put it before the Lion King remake. That's the biggest thing that they wanted to do with it. Okay. From looking at the second trailer, I'm not impressed at all. I feel like this is Alice Through the Looking Glass all over again since they put sequels of Alice in Wonderland. I could even say that this could be worse, not just the first movie, but worse than Through the Looking Glass. You're not looking forward to it if it's really bad, but we could agree that this movie will suck. Give a 4 out of 10 for you to give the seal of garbage. That's my prediction, so let's see how it turns out. Very similar to Through the Looking Glass, you say? You know, that does give me an idea. Maybe I could pull off a similar ending to that review as well with this one. Oh, man, I don't care what people say. I am still proud of what I did in that review, man. I am still happy with that. Okay, let's see now. All I could say for this trailer is, what the hell did I just watch? The visuals look fine and Angelina Jolie is great, but everything else is just bad. I feel like this sequel will be Alice Through the Looking Glass, again, another comparison, where the first movie was mediocre and the sequel is only for the huge fans of the first. I'll just have to pass on this. Okay. I'm going to 100% agree with you, Matt. This looks dumb. I also have strong doubts about this sequel. Most of the remakes Disney does are okay to bad. The Jungle Book is the only one that is great. It improves so much of the original in my opinion, but this movie seems like a dumb one. Yeah, I'm skipping this October. Or this October, like, how about this? save your money for the Addams Family. I think that would be a much better answer. And one thing that I will say, though, is that, well, technically, I know a lot of people forget about this one, but the 2015 Cinderella, I would consider it one of the better ones. Like, that one was good, you know? Like, I wouldn't say it's great, but, you know, I would take that one a little bit over, like, a lot of the others, like, over Beauty and the Beast, over Aladdin, over Dumbo, and all that stuff, so at least there is that. I'm gonna go and read one more. You know, I would agree. This is just more and more of a missed opportunity, more missed opportunities just for these films. In all honesty, is everyone that blind not to see the problems while making these films or the other live action films? Not even for the factors that emotionless actors are becoming more common in these films. To say even Jafar was better than this. If anything, I'd rather have the directors of the MCU do better films. Well, I mean, like, in that regard, it's not really a factor that it's becoming more and more of a problem. It's just that with these movies, they just don't care. For them, it's not necessarily like a grand opportunity that they have to take advantage of. For them, this is just another, like, paycheck, you know? This is just a job for them, so whatever. They'll just do what they can, you know, get through the script, be paid, and just be done with it. It's just the factor about this is that it requires people to really care in order to make a passionate project that people should care about. But obviously, this is not really the case. Okay, with that said, though, let's go on to the last trailer, and let's go on to the grand finale. Yes, we do have one more trailer, and man, for a while, the chat wall has been highly anticipated. They have been hyping themselves up for this to see, like, what I think about this trailer right over here. And yes, this will be regarding a Disney live-action remake. We got another one going around. And lately, they've been making some massive news, especially the ones with The Little Mermaid, with the possible casting of Melissa McCarthy as Ursula, and then the big news about Halle Bailey as Ariel. And then we also got The Lion King as well this week, in which the first reactions came out, and well, the reviews don't really seem that great. Well, they're not terrible, but they are on par with the live-action remake of Aladdin, I will say that. But then we got this one, and so far, it's been getting some different reactions out of it. So with that said, let us go ahead and check out the teaser trailer and our first look at Disney's Mulan.
It is my duty to fight.
Woo! Woo boy! So that is Mulan, the movie of which will be coming out in 2020. So yeah, this is pretty early that we got this one. Now, before I get into my thoughts onto what we just saw with this teaser trailer, I would like to mention that there have been rumors speculating around regarding this movie. Most namely regarding the fact that there is a possibility that we might not be getting a musical number out of this, that they're not going to be playing any songs in the remake, but rather all they're going to do is just put up like instrumental versions, just like what we just heard right now, where they did a special version of Reflection. And also on top of that, there is another rumor going around that not only is there no musical numbers, but also the fact that there's going to be no Mushu, that they're not going to be including Mushu onto this anywhere. And on top of that, some people could say that there is a possibility that technically he will be there, but he is going to be replaced with a phoenix. That seems to be the idea that's currently passing around about the possibility regarding this live action remake of Mulan. And I just gotta say right now, it's not every day that I would say something like this, but honestly, hearing these rumors, I really do hope that they are true. I actually do hope that there are no musical numbers and that there are no Mushu, there is no Mushu going around, because so far with what I'm seeing with how serious this teaser trailer is taking itself, this really got me intrigued. Like, honestly, this got me a lot more hopeful for this than I am than most other Disney live action remakes, because I could definitely see the potential if they decide to go and take itself very seriously, if they decide to go and take that route. Because the big catch to that is that, yeah, sure, there are going to be some references to the Disney animated feature from 1998, but on top of that, that means it will also take the time to take some inspiration from the original story that it's based on, The Legend of Hua Mulan. In a way, what could happen with this, like best case scenario, it could be a lot like the live action remake of The Jungle Book, where it mixes elements of, it mixes elements of the animated film it's based on, and also it would mix elements of the original story, that they would combine the two to create this original fresh take on a story that we are all familiar with. And they could be doing the same thing with Mulan, where we will have a little bit of small nods here and there to the animated film, but it clearly wants to take itself seriously. Like, the main selling point in this teaser trailer is like the elements of Mulan going to war, and then we also see these little contrasts of like through voiceover of when Mulan is trying to impress the matchmaker to go and possibly find a mate for herself, or try to find a husband, probably the best way to say it. I don't know, finding a mate, I mean, that's like something that you would say for like the Discovery Channel, or like just watch some Animal Planet documentary. But yeah, so far what we are seeing with the trailer, with the way that we see that it really emphasizes on all the action and Mulan and the army that she joins fighting off against the Huns, and then like some of Mulan's own techniques of fighting off the Huns. Like, that is actually pretty epic. So far, I will say, like, the choreography on the action is pretty impressive with the little amount that we have seen in this. This actually does look like it will be a very action-packed based movie. And again, if they leave less room for the musical numbers and for the comedic moments with Mushu, then honestly, I could see this have some strong potential, and it will and honestly, it could definitely differentiate itself from the animated film, because that does seem to be a very common problem when it comes to these live action remakes, especially like in the case of Aladdin, or what people are saying right now with The Lion King, or even with Beauty and the Beast, for example. Those ones, they stay a little too close to what's already been done with the animated films and offer very little that is actually new. Now, this is not to say that being completely different makes it better, because you take a look at movies like Maleficent, or you take a look at Dumbo, and those movies, like, the story that they replaced it's just a flat-out disaster. Like, honestly, the thing that would help is that, yeah, try to be different, but the thing that you're replacing to be different, it has to be good. If you know what I mean. Like, try to be different, but be a good different, not a bad different like Dumbo or Maleficent. And so far, that seems like what we're getting here. Like, removing any of the comical or the whimsical tones from the musical moments, or even some of the side characters, I feel like it will give it a fresh take. It will make it something that is more unique compared to the animated feature, and stick more closely to what's been done with the original tale. Now, granted, there is a possibility that they're not going to take itself 100% seriously, because keep in mind, in the animated film, yeah, Mushu is the comic relief, but he's not the main comic relief. We also have Lin Yao and Xian Po, and we know that those guys are going to be coming back in the live action remake, and you never know, that maybe we will have a little bit of comedic moments with those guys as well, but it's not going to be something that will completely overshadow everything that is going on with the movie, or it's not going to overshadow with the entire action that's going to be happening and the grand scale that they want to try to go and set up with this. Now, if there is one thing that I need to go and criticize on this teaser trailer, if there is something that is problematic, oddly enough, I don't know if it's just me that I feel like it's the weirdest thing, but honestly, it's actually the references to the animated film. Now, granted, the small things are perfectly fine, like playing a oriental version of Reflection, okay, that's perfectly fine. The narrative aspect, like Mulan going to the matchmaker or joining the army to fight against the Huns, that's perfectly fine. But then you get like these dumb moments like, like this one right over here. Like, this is the one that I just cannot take seriously.
Yes, I will bring honor to us all.
Are you for real, Mulan? Like, really? Don't you guys think that's a little too cheesy? Like, don't you think that line is a little bit way too on the nose to reference the animated film? Like, what the fridge else is next? It's like, is there gonna be a scene that after Mulan fails with the matchmaker, she's gonna go into the prayer room, she's gonna look sad, and she'll just look up and say, "When will my reflection show who I am inside?" Like, do you realize how corny that sounds? Like, it doesn't sound authentic. That just really feels like such a violent nudge from Disney. You know, it's like they're doing that to the point where it kind of hurts a little bit, where they're going like, get it? It's like the animated film. I don't know, I feel like that's a little bit ridiculous. So honestly, I hope that's not going to be overshadowing all that. That's just my one criticism. If we can get a little less of that and more of some of the serious nature, then I'll be fine. Again, I'm not against this movie referencing elements to the animated film. The instrumental parts, that's perfectly fine. The narrative aspect, yeah, that's gonna be cool. In fact, like, I would welcome it. Like, one thing I would really be excited about is actually gonna be how this movie is going to, remake the scene when Mulan ultimately decides, okay, I'm gonna be the one who's gonna go to war. Screw it. I'm taking my dad's position. And then, like, from there, you got the epic soundtrack of I don't know if it's fully called that, but you know, the one that is so far called like Short Hair. Like I actually used it in my top 10 other Disney villains, like right at the end, like to do like such an epic montage. Like, it really is that cool. You know the one I'm talking about. It's like that one. Yeah, by the way, you can have that little beatbox thing. But in all seriousness though, like, honestly, like those little references I'm perfectly okay with. Even if you do like just one random little nod over like the cricket or Mushu or whatever, like just a little side thing, as long as it doesn't completely overshadow it. But don't be this obvious with your references. Don't make her quote like the freaking song like, "I will bring honor to us all." Like that's just a little too much, you know? That's just a little bit that's just a little bit too obvious, honestly. But in all seriousness though, there is also one more thing that I really need to bring up that I think is very interesting to discuss about. It's actually regarding the reaction from the Chinese. Because I think we can all agree that more so than North Americans, Disney wants to make a movie for the Chinese, because that's also a really valuable and really bankable market that if they can really pull off an amazing movie that the Chinese would want to watch, like, then at that point, it doesn't matter anymore regarding what the North American box office will be. They can pretty much make their entire money just through the Chinese alone. In fact, there are some major franchises that really bank on the Chinese box office. Case in point, I could be wrong on this, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's like the Transformers movies, the Fast and Furious films, and even like a lot of the superhero films, like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, a big part of it is not just because it's really big in North American cultures, but even in Chinese cultures, they really eat up a lot of the superhero movies. So making a movie for them specifically, yeah, they would be hyped up. And so far from what I've seen in terms of their reactions, it's honestly pretty mixed, actually. There are some people that are very excited, but this trailer is also getting a little bit of backlash due to historical inaccuracies. And when I say historical inaccuracies, it's mostly some of the details, like some of the houses that they live in is set during the wrong period, or even some of the costumes, they don't seem to fit right, or they seem to make sense for that period of alone. Or like one meme that's currently going on in China is actually, where is it? Is this, yeah, this little moment right over here. Like the Chinese right now, they are making fun of how overly like how Mulan is just wearing way too much makeup. Like even back then for Chinese culture, like that's just a little bit too much. Now, I know that some people could listen to this and think that a lot of these complaints are just minor details. But again, you got to keep in mind that the Chinese, they're kind of like the main target audience for this. Like that's a group of people that you don't want to go and piss off. And yeah, maybe it is a little bit too late to go and fix up some of these things, but you want to try to make sure that you don't offend any of these people. You want to make sure that you want to please them as much as possible. So maybe Disney still has plenty of months to go in order to fix things up. So maybe with CGI they'll be able to go and fix up some of the small details in order to make it a lot more historically accurate. But that's the thing, is that I know that for North American cultures, the complaints that the Chinese would have, some people would say that it's a little bit nitpicking. It doesn't necessarily matter. But for the Chinese, these are people that you don't necessarily want to piss off if you want your movie to really succeed. So I would recommend Disney to give them a little bit of a listen, hear what they have to say and take the time to go and correct some of these errors. But overall, honestly, with this trailer, this honestly shows a lot of potential. I do have a pretty strong feeling that this could come out as possibly one of the better ones if it does stay true with its serious tone, and that it will pay as much of an homage to the original story as much as they will with the animated film. So honestly, this for me, I feel actually pretty optimistic about this one. I'm actually excited for this live action remake of Mulan, and it's stated here that the film will be released. I believe the release date is going to be in March 27th, 2020. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I do know that it will be out in March 2020. So that's the big thing to go and emphasize. But yeah, overall, I think with this trailer, it does have some strong potential. So with that said, now I want to go to the chat wall and I want to ask what you guys think about the live action remake of Mulan, and what do you think about this teaser trailer? Are you guys more interested in seeing this? Are you guys more disappointed? Do you think this is probably the best trailer we have shown so far, or this trailer is even worse than Maleficent, Mistress of Evil? Let me know what you think. Okay, let's see now. This might be a nitpick, but I really didn't like how they said the matchmaker found a match for Mulan at the start of the trailer. The animated Mulan failed to impress the matchmaker, which, along with her family's health, gave her a reason to join the army. But if she has a match, what other reason aside from her father's health does she have to go? Maybe they'll explain in the movie, but that part just kind of bothered me. The rest of the trailer was pretty good, though, and I would definitely check this one out. Well, I would say that if that were the case, then that would actually be easy to fill in for now, but I can imagine if she does have a match, then honestly, what I can imagine, to stay a little bit true to the animated film, what's going to happen is that the new husband, quote-unquote, will be like the new matchmaker, where, yeah, she'll meet him, and he does not like her at all, and he just tells her, like, get out! I don't want you as my wife! Get out of my house right now. Dishonor on you. You know, do all that kind of crap. That's what I could imagine that they could try out. And then, like, it would follow, like, shoot, that will give her the reason to go and find the army and stuff like that. Let's see now. I thought this trailer was but I'm more interested in this than most remakes that they'll develop, since it appears to be having more of its own personality and doing something different. They did get the writers of the first two Planet of the Apes prequels, which are great, and the cinematography and the action looks really good. That said, I personally prefer that than an Asian filmmaker That said, I personally prefer that they had a Asian filmmaker as a director, but at least it is a woman. Oh boy, I'm glad that I corrected myself on that. Oh boy, because if I kept going, it would sound really bad. Okay, anyways, I'm pretty interested. This is my mom's favorite Disney movie, and she's interested too. Kind of sad that there's no songs, though. Well, I mean, some sacrifices have to be made, you know, but then again, this is for the best. Let's see now. I don't know about this. This movie is giving me the Great Wall and 47 Ronin movie vibes, and everything looks very dull. I get it's trying to be more accurate to the original Hua Mulan tale, but still, it looks boring. Mulan 2 was a pain in the butt, but at least it was an interesting pain in the butt. It was relentless of how many dumb decisions that this movie has. It is fascinating to look at. This? Okay. Let's see now. I feel divided. This probably won't be bad, but I feel like we didn't need this after what's going on with The Lion King. I mean, we don't need any live-action remakes. All of these are unnecessary, dude. I'm just saying. It looks dull, and also, why wasn't Mulan not in disguise during the fights? It just doesn't make sense given the story. I also feel indifferent about no Mushu, but seriously, no songs? Bruh. That's what makes the original movie work. But one thing we can agree on, no matter how dull it is, it will be better than Mulan 2. Well, honestly, like, the scenes that we see the scenes that we do see Mulan, like, not in disguise and fighting off the Huns, like, that could actually be a part of the finale. But that's easily explainable. Like, that, they got a new version of how this movie is going to end, and after all the revelation and stuff like that, like, this is going to be part of the final battle. Let's see now. Everyone's saying original this or original that when they are trying out to make it close to the original actual story of Mulan, which didn't have talking dragons or crickets or musical numbers. It's a different interpretation of the actual story. Personally, I'm all in so far. This looks like an epic experience to watch in theaters. Wonder how Trump will react to this movie since he always complains about China. Also, I bet there will be YouTube videos accusing this film of being SJWs. Well, I mean, okay, well, on that regard, I wouldn't be surprised if the people who spread out like hashtag not my Ariel, they're upset about this. Like, they're just angry that they're making Disney's Mulan because now they're whining and crying, when will there be a white Disney princess? When will Disney cater only to my white privileges? And also in the factor of Trump, well, it really does depend. Will this movie give them money? Because so far, that's the deal. Because with Trump, he seems to like China right now because he can make deals out of it. You look up with his botched parade, and apparently he decided to let go of the tariffs because, hey, we need fireworks, you know? Just look it up. You'll know more details from there. Let's see. The live-action remake has got me super excited. Disney has to revive it something special about Mulan, thanks to Asian actors. Sometimes it will perform little to some martial arts and even samurai action scenes. I had not yet ready to see it, but I will give it a shot next year. Oh wow, someone's pretty optimistic about it. And I'll go and read one more comment. I'm intrigued with the Mulan remake. I know some people aren't too keen with Disney remakes, like how people have walked out from the Lion King remake, but I hope the movie is as good as the Jungle Book remake. Alright, so that's pretty nice. And with that said, I think that should go and conclude this episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. That definitely was a lot of fun and definitely fascinating to go and check out all these trailers. And I just want to say thank you all so much for listening and watching this episode. It really was a blast, especially with you guys involved. And let's hope that next week we will see a whole bunch of more crazy stories or even maybe more crazy trailers to go and discuss about. But until then, I guess we gotta wait until next week. So with all that said and done, I just want to say thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all, thank you all so much for listening. And until next time, see you later, dudes.